Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan. We're going to finish our two-part pod series, of course, looking at some of the questions or issues of the Eagles. We did offense. This is kind of as the summer is about to start and we go into training camp, and now we'll do defense as well. This is, of course, Adam, the last week of any Eagles football until a break. And we'll have our reports from camp, and we'll deliver that. And then we will get into our offseason. What I'm really looking forward to is our NFC East preview that we do every year with Greg Cosell, where we really go from A to Z on each of the four teams and break them down. Because I kind of think the NFC East has a chance to be decent this year and a little bit more well-rounded. And we saw the Commanders obviously take a big step last year.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Talked to Greg about it last week. He's looking forward to it. And the function of the show that we did on offense and this one today we're going to do on defense is kind of, it gives you an idea of where they are. And they only have one practice left, which is today, which is the mandatory camp. And it's one practice, by the way. It's exactly the same practice that they had before, just as everyone has to be there, which has been pretty much the case anyway, unless they had an excuse absence. So that's really it. Some teams, by the way, ended their offseason program last week. Some will end this week. And then a couple teams practice next week. It's kind of interesting how they're doing. Of course, the Ravens, who like to extend everything and practice more than everybody, they have one next week.
Yeah, they're strange like that. But their players, I don't know. I never read anything where their players seem to be disappointed about it. So I guess it is what it is for them. You just got to make sure that they're doing things within the rules. They've been penalized before for things like that. I'm glad we're doing defense in this episode because we did just have Quinton Michael on. We want to thank him, the former Eagle, the star of Q&A show, co-star of Q&A show, along with Jason Avant on Inside the Birds. He was our recent guest on Ask an Eagle for our Patreon guests. And there were a ton of questions, not only about the Eagles defense from our members, Adam, but some really good questions about how defense is played now, especially with the implementation of the Fangio style defenses and looks, as opposed to back when he played safety for the Eagles under Jim Johnson, who we always say Jim and Vic are a lot alike in how they present themselves, how they think, but they're schematically different. And we do see a lot of teams now playing different style of defense. And Q is able to kind of comment on that as someone who played in one scheme, has observed how it's changed. And I thought the questions that were asked of him and his responses were really enlightening.
Yeah, and it was cool we got to talk about Reed Blankenship because, of course, Q was an undrafted free agent in 2003. Yeah. Blankenship in 22, and Reed's up for another extension. He got a 1-year extension a year ago, but now he's firmly entrenched. He's just really good, one of their defensive leaders. So he deserves to get it paid really, really well. And a ton of talk and analysis and discussion of Cooper Jean, what he's done so far, what he could do, and how he fits in with VicFangio's defense. It was just great. A ton of that. We probably talk more about DeJean than anything with Q. And he played the safety position, which apparently VicFangio wants DeJean to play a little bit this year. So we'll see how that transpires.
Yep. Always great to get the perspective of somebody who played the position and played on defense. So we really thank Quinton Michael. And this is why you've got to be an Inside the Birds Patreon member. You can personally get into these chat rooms and ask an Eagle. We do this every month. A question yourself and get answered. I don't know anybody else who gives you that opportunity to do that. I mean, you get to even sports radio doesn't, because you get to actually talk and see the person on camera. It is a really unique experience, and that's why you got to be a part of Inside the Birds Patreon. That's insidethebirds.com/Patreon to sign up. We do it every month, our Ask an Eagle live stream. So again, thanks to Quinton Michael. All right, so let's move on and talk about, oh, by the way, I don't want to forget to mention the other great perks, which is all of our podcasts are uploaded on Patreon, commercial free. So no ads on any and all of our podcasts that are uploaded to Patreon. Of course, you get access to our Discord community. We do other shows. Greg Cosell comes on and does an Ask Greg Cosell live stream with us every week throughout the season, many weeks throughout the off season. That's always fun as well. People love that. And listen, Adam and I, we answer any questions through our Ask ITB live stream as well. So if you have a question for us, You become a Patreon member, you will get that answered. So again, patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. We will move on to our defense. The things that we're looking at on defense that you have question marks about. And, Adam, we talk a lot about the interior defensive line and how good it is. Obviously, with Jalen Carter leading the way. And last year, Carter, Milton Williams, and Jordan Davis was a really good trio for them. It gave them everything: run stopping, pass rush, just pocket collapsing. Milton Williams really came into his own. But the one thing that really sticks out is they all stayed healthy. So I remember us saying there's some interior defensive line depth issues going into the year, but it didn't manifest because I don't think any of those guys missed any games, or if they did, it stub their toe and come out. I mean, Jalen Carter was playing almost 100% of the snaps in many, many games. So I still think when you look at this year's team with Milton Williams gone and Jomo stepping into the role, we can say depth is a question mark because you can't rely on everybody always staying healthy.
Yeah, and they're really young, which turned out to be a good thing. For the second straight year, they're the only NFL team that's got no vested veterans at defensive tackle. They've got 7 young players, and look, that's a good thing. They get to know each other, sort of bond together and understand what it takes to win. A lot of these guys are back. And Byron Young is here for a full off season, which is the big thing for them. Is it's one of the big reasons why they claimed him off waivers from the Raiders, is they would have time left on his contract, get him in for a full off season. But then the question is what happens if somebody gets hurt? Is Ty Robinson going to be ready? We know Booker could play nose and other tackle spots. Byron Young is not really a nose tackle. Gabe Hall is really not contributed. They don't know much about him yet. They just know he's got great length. But Ty Robinson's is the guy who can play multiple positions on the defensive line. One of the reasons why he dropped to the 4th is there was a feeling within the scouting community is where would you really want to line him up and what scheme is he best used for? So we'll see how that transpires in training camp. The cool thing is they're young, they're talented, but it's other than Carter, and Ojomo is first-year starter, though he played quite a bit last year. Mm-hmm. Now he's a full-time starter. I don't have any questions about him. He dropped. There was some maturity issue coming out of the 23 draft. That was it. Nothing bad. He really should have been. The grades that we were told that teams gave him basically from a film standpoint was 4th round, but there were some character knocks on him. Talk about something to be overrated or just overanalyzed, because not a problem at all here. He's been very productive, particularly last season. First season didn't play a lot. Last year he played quite a bit. Now he's a full-time starter, whatever that looks like. When I say that could mean 45 to 50% of the snaps. It could be 40% of the snaps. It's just how they want to work the rotation. But in terms of who are the guys going to play the most, it's going to be Carter, Ojomo, and it should be Jordan Davis. If it's not, then there's a problem.
So that's a great point. Let's paint a picture here. The most important thing about the VicFangio defense, because he does not blitz anything north of 20 to 22%, and I don't think he wants to, is the 4-man rush. The 4-man rush has to get home. The 4-man rush, as we go into the season, unless something happens differently in camp, right, is going to be Nolan Smith and Jelix Hunt on the edges, the first string 4-man rush, and then inside should be Jalen Carter and Moro Ojomo. So to our point about depth and everybody staying healthy last year, let's say week 1 opener, right, September, week 1, Ojomo twists an ankle. He's going to be out 2 or 3 weeks. All of a sudden, you're now needing somebody for that 4-man rush, and your candidates are a guy like Ty Robinson, who's a rookie, okay, and would he be ready to handle that kind of expanded role as a rookie? Or if we're to take the Eagles' word for it, maybe Jordan Davis would be part of that, because they're saying that he's improved as a pass rusher, and they might want to give him more opportunities if they continue to see that improvement throughout camp. But he's really not shown that yet in his career. So just one injury away on the inside shows you how sort of tenuous it could become, relying on either a rookie or Thomas Booker, who's been a good story, but not like a guy that you're ready to throw out there for 65% of the game and on all the 3rd and longs, right? Or the rookie Ty Robinson. So it's pretty. And by the way, Moro Ojomo still has to prove himself that he can handle and step into the Milton Williams role and take off from there. We did a really good comparison on Inside the Data last week with Sam Finkel between Ajomo and Milton Williams, noting some similarities, but also some athletic differences that may make it tougher for Ajomo to be as good as Milton Williams was last year and the year before. So that's a good picture of what it looks like.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Ajomo in future shows. We'll probably devote, if not one show, probably half of a show at least to him. We have a lot of scouting data from tape breakdown. Go back to his college days. We've got a lot of stuff on him. But I could tell you, in terms of replacing Williams, when you really look at it, it's Carter and Williams played the most snaps, which is what we knew would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Ajomo and Davis. So Ajomo steps into that Williams role. And you have to, when I don't look at who starts, it's irrelevant. Starting means who's in there for the first snap of the game. That's what starting technically means. It's who plays the most snaps. Right. Who plays situationally. Carter doesn't come out really. He just doesn't. He plays in every kind of front that they play, and he plays in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just you mentioned it a couple minutes ago. He pretty much is in every snap. The question there would be, though, if he didn't play for a game, what does that look like? That's something that they hope they don't have to talk about, and they haven't had to because he's been extremely durable and he's obviously been a great player. It could be Byron Young, by the way. They're not going to. It could be Ty Robinson. I mean, Ty Robinson could play a variety of roles. He's just not a nose tackle. That's the one position he's not going to play.
Right. That's a great point. I mentioned what happens if Ajomo gets hurt. What if Carter misses 2 or 3 games? Now you'd have to play in your 4-man rush. You're probably playing Ajomo and Robinson or Ajomo and Jordan Davis. Like, who's getting the double team out of that? Because none of those guys have proven yet that they should be double teamed. And that gives the opponent a little bit of an edge to maybe double team a Nolan Smith or a Jalix Hunt or be judicious in where they want to give their help to. So it's a big difference if Jalen Carter obviously gets hurt. But when we move to the edge, let's move to the edge because it's a little bit of the same question. You have the Eagles for the longest time have always had like a guy on the edge who's been a proven 10 to 12 sack guy, whether it's Josh Sweat, whether it was Hassan Reddick. I mean, you go through the names. That's what they've always had really good proven, at least one good proven edge guy. And Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, the ceiling's very high for them. They played well in the second half last year, but I think Vic said it best. Jalix Hunt is a pup, right? He's a young he's a kid. He's only got a couple of starts under his belt, and so he's got to prove that he can handle the workload of being a starter. Nolan Smith, I think he showed you great development. There's no question about that. But again, if one of these guys has to miss a few games and you go into the reserve tank, then you see, well, Azeez Ojulari is really best as a situational player. He struggled to stay healthy. And you don't really know yet right now what you're going to get out of Josh Uche, who's only played well for 1 year. And the team that got him to play well for 1 year gave up on him 2 years later, and then he's been bouncing around. So there's some question marks if these guys have to play 2, 3, 4 games, or if the starting 2 are not as effective as we want them to be.
Yeah, so they feel like they have enough in numbers. Smith, Hunt, Ojulari, Uche, Pal Ryland. We get it. He's a rookie, so he's got to prove himself. I still say they need one more guy, honestly. Now, again, you're not bringing anyone here to take Smith's or Hunt's job. That's not what we're talking about. They need one more guy. It could be a developmental player that you like that another team didn't want. It's not about a trade. It has nothing to do with it. It's someone 25 to 30% play time potentially, or a veteran who's near the end of his career who understands, hey, I'm trying to get a ring. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do, no problem. Who accept his role. That's the kind of guy you're looking at. Because if you're trying to sign another guy like Ojulari or Josh Uche and trying to revive their career, if they do well, they won't be starting, but they're going to be pushing for playing time. They kind of know what the deal is. They're going to have a chance here because Smith's coming back from major surgery. Yeah, it looks like he could be fine for training camp barring a setback. Hunt, you want to play, but he's so raw. They got to figure out what his playing time is going to look like. That's why you need a rotation. They're going to probably have a 4-man rotation between the guys we just mentioned. But who's the insurance policy? You need on your 53-man roster, you need 5 guys. Patrick Johnson probably will not play other than special teams if he makes a team.
Right.
Pal Ryland he's got to prove himself. He's a 6th-round pick who put up massive sack totals, but there's a reason why he dropped the 6th round. He's not the most athletic guy. He's got okay length, but there's that one surprised me when he dropped the 6. I'm like, wow, well, that much production. But you're talking to some scouting people. We got kind of some good answers lately.
Yeah.
He's either going to be a 5th or 6th round pick based on body type and what the tape looked like. Sometimes the numbers could be deceiving. But bottom line is they probably could use one more guy for just small percentage of playing time.
Yeah, especially with Jahad Campbell kind of playing double duty, right, at inside linebacker and edge. And he really didn't play edge at Alabama for quite some time after they moved him to inside. So it might be a natural fit for him. It might not be. Who knows? But we know he's going to be spending a lot of his early time, Vic even said it, learning the ILB position. So, yeah, maybe later in the year, if they're struggling, if they have an injury, they can move him there as long as Nakobe Dean is back or if Trotter's playing well. But that's for later in the year. And again, it's not a position he's been playing quite a bit. We detailed in a podcast recently what the veteran market looks like right now for edge rushers. And there's still a lot of guys who have some juice left in the tank. We felt that could play 10 to 12 snaps a game as long as you put them in that position and didn't ask too much of them. But that to me is a story for if an injury happens or if you're coming out of camp and you don't love what you've seen and you just feel like you need one more guy. But to your point, you don't bring in a guy to like be the guy. You just bring him into understanding that he's part of a rotation.
Yeah. And I think your point was the best one, the one that you made early here, is that they have the players, but Smith as a full-time starter, he did it for almost 3/4 of the season last year. Now he's got it to a full season. That's the question mark. Again, he's getting mental reps. He's getting very limited practice time. That's what he's had so far. And Hunt is so raw, but very talented, very interesting. You love the upside. Now he projects to be a full-time player. It's great, but you don't know yet. That's the point of this exercise. As you pointed out, for years they've always had that guy that landed at least one guy at the edge that is a dude, right? Smith, maybe. We don't know that yet. That's where we're at.
Yeah, and where in the past few years, especially if there was an issue, they could get Brandon Graham to play more than they thought, and he would play at a really high level. In fact, you could argue last year he played some of his best football before he got hurt for the first time with the triceps. They don't have that this year. There's no there's no Brandon Graham guy who they could just whisk in there and say, all right, you're going to actually play 45-55% of the snaps this game, and we need you to play it at a really high level and constantly create the pressure. So it is a new era for the Eagles edge group, just like it was last year for the interior group without Fletcher Cox. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's move to the ILB position. Now this is we've talked about, this is the biggest question mark from depth concern, even from starting concern, to be honest with you. With Nakobe Dean out, you got Zach Bond, who, by the way, would really help if he played at the same level last year, and you hope that he does. He should be able to, and it should not be a fluke. But then next to him is going to be Jeremiah Trotter Jr. competing with the rookie Jahad Campbell for quite a bit, and then behind that is just Smile Mondon and Dallas Gant. It's just not a position where you're very deep right now, and you can just be like, oh, we're good, we're settled here.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, they have a numbers issue, significant numbers issue. They're just they need to add one or two guys by training camp, just to be able to get through training camp. Really, to be honest with you, then for the season, let's assume Bond is close to, if not where he was last year, which was elite. I know it's a lot to say. It was only one season, but it was incredible, and boy, does he have a great feel for Vic's defense. Okay, so he's you can put the pen there. That you don't put pencil in, you put a pen. Put him in pen. He's there. With Dean sideline, Campbell sometime in August he's going to be on the field, but he's missing the offseason being on the field. That he's going to be way behind.
Yep.
So it's Trot Jr. Barring something unforeseen, Trot Jr. and Bond will be starting week 1. Again, barring something unforeseen. Mondon could be the 3. I know he's a rookie, but because Dallas Gant really hasn't played and Lance Dixon's an undrafted free agent who's unlikely to make the team, they have a significant numbers problem. They're probably going to need 2, because the other thing we've mentioned is you need to have 3 teams in defense, first, and second, and third team. They just need to get through training camp. So
yeah,
what you would like, though, is experience, because if Bond gets hurt, Trot Jr. has not been a starter. Mondon's a rookie. Campbell, we don't know exactly when he'll be ready. They just don't have any experience other than Bond. But when I say experience, he's only started one season.
Right.
So they got a problem. We'll talk more about this in the coming weeks about what this could look like in terms of veterans, but in terms of issues, I would say this is the most significant issue right now is inside backer.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bobby King did such a great job coaching last year, but there is no rest for the weary because he really is going to have to coach up all those young kids and the rookie, Campbell, and of course even Jeremiah Trotter, and also keep making sure that the guy who lucked out for everybody, Zach Bowen, continues to play at a really high level. All right, that'll certainly be a storyline all throughout camp that we're going to be following. Let's go into the back end in a second. First, you got to hear a word from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
That's right. You got to stop in the Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, and tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. You will get a great deal. And look, whether you're car shopping, whether you're trading in, or just browsing. Adam talked about this too. We know people who just like to browse online. They're not even looking for a car. They're just looking for a future car, or they want to see what the prices and the inventory is like. Well, that's what SkyMotorCars.com is for. Fantastic inventory. So if you're a browser, make sure you check out SkyMotorCars.com.
Yeah, it's funny. My Infiniti is like 7 years old, and I'm debating. I've never had a used car in my life, and I'm thinking the first time doing it, and I sold my car to Brett Schulter and his group and buying one from him. I'm seriously thinking about it. My wife has already done it years ago. We actually sold 2 cars through Brett. So yeah, I'm overdue to go in there. So I got to figure this out. Get a. In fact, the cool thing is I could just go online, as you said, SkyMotorCars.com, see if there's a car that I like in my price range, and then just work out a deal. But that'd be something else. I have to work out a deal with him. Boy, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would be. All right, Brett, he's coming your way. Caplan's on the way. Coming down there to Sky Motor Cars. All right, let's move on. We're going to go in the secondary, and we'll just get this out of the way right now because we've already been, people have been tweeting to us and asking about Jaire Alexander, the Packers cornerback who's getting released from the team. He'll be a free agent. Should the Eagles pursue him? I think it's a good question. I wrote about it on PhillyVoice.com. And Adam, much like any kind of established player who's available suddenly in June, there are some really good reasons to kick the tires and explore it. And then there are some really good reasons to be very cautious and skeptical about what you're getting. I'll get the obvious out of the way first. He's really talented. He's made 2 Pro Bowls and 2 All-Pro teams, and he's a playmaker. A lot of interceptions when he's healthy. The con is he's missed 50% of his games over the last 4 years. And he had some weird things going on with the Packers organization there that just make you wonder, like, how he's wired. Listen, he didn't hurt anybody. I'm not trying to say he's a bad guy, but it was just, the Eagles have had a really good thing going on with most of their players, and some of the wackiness in Green Bay, you'd wonder how it fit. But there are some things to weigh here with Jaire Alexander.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, the last 2 seasons he missed 20 games. In 21, I mean, he missed 13. That's why when you look at his contract, he just lost $17.5 million. He just over $60 million base salary with the workout bonus, which he forfeited because he didn't show up, and the per game roster bonus is it's $17.5 million. None of it was guaranteed. He's going to try to make up as much as he can, but he's only 28 years old, which he turned in February. So it's a situation where he's clearly a starting corner. Anywhere he goes in, he's probably going to have the belief he's a starter. You should. That's why you're signing him now. But realistically, you're probably looking at, because of the injuries, which we just talked about, maybe in base salary, 8 to 10 million, 7 to 8 million, somewhere 7 to 10 million. You could bump him up with per game roster bonuses to try to get him to 12 to 13 million. But whatever you do, you give him a 1-year structure, whether it's a 1-year deal, true 1-year deal, or a 3-year deal with a 1-year structure, which means you could get out after 1 year and not owe him a dime. Like, that's it. You cannot commit to him in terms of guaranteed money past year one. You cannot do that.
Right.
But he's super gifted. In his career, he's had 15 total interceptions, 12 in the regular season, 3 in the playoffs. If you watch his tape, some of his interceptions are remarkable. So really, he's not the biggest guy in the world, just below. It's somewhere around 5'11", or a little bit shorter, but he plays bigger than his listed size.
Mm-hmm.
Really gifted, but you worry about the injury history. That's why you gotta, if you sign him, yeah, he most likely comes in as the starter. Now, if it would happen to be Philly, you would just assume he's coming here to start. If they did that. I know you did a Football 4 segment on Monday. I know, as you said, people would ask about it. It's just, you're trying to win a Super Bowl. The pitch is always going to be here. Any veteran you talk to, you may not get the money you're looking for, but you're coming here to win a Super Bowl. That's our biggest sell to you, is you get to revive your career and you get to show people that you could still play at a high level. And you're only 28 years old, folks. He's not 30. He was a first-round pick of 2018. This is year 8 for him. But, again, he's not old.
He's 1 year younger than what Darius Slay was when the Eagles traded with the Lions for Darius Slay. And Slay gave you 5 really good years more after the trade, and he's still playing. This year he'll play with the Steelers. So the list of injuries on him is complicated because it's not just one thing. It's the back, the knee, the quad, and the shoulder. Those are the 4 main injuries that he's had. And the knee was recently. He just had the surgery in January, so he's still coming back from that. But to your point, Adam, his age makes me wonder if there is a team out there that's going to be willing to push some money into year 2 just to be able to win the war that will ensue, when teams start to go after him, because he's probably going to get interest from several teams. He's not going to be like one team, the Eagles are going to kick the tires and nobody else is going to do it. He's that good of a player.
Oh, yeah.
He'll get interest.
No doubt.
Yeah. But I think if there's a team that's willing to do it, I'm not sure that, listen, I don't tell Howie what to do, but that's a dangerous proposition. If you're trying to get money into year 2,
there's no way I'm committing future guarantee money to him. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. Yeah, because now Bill Polian told us years ago that the Hall of Fame general manager, formerly of the Colts and Bills and Panthers, that you never pass up an upgrade if you could handle it. From a financial standpoint, this is an upgrade. No offense to Dory Jackson or Keely Ringo, he's way more talented, way better, and he's a proven player. It's just you understand now that the maturity issue, the craziness of that when he got suspended for 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team. Folks who don't know about it, it's one of the most bizarre situations we've ever seen. It's one of these like, wait, what did he do? Yeah, he came out. He was not a team captain, but he came out because he wanted to be a team captain, and he came out for the coin toss. And what are you doing?
And by the way, he almost botched it. He almost called the wrong heads or tails. He almost called the opposite of what they wanted.
It's like you can, and Matt LaFleur was furious. Yeah. Like he just, because they didn't know this was coming. Like what the?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a knucklehead stuff, man. What are you doing? You can't. Right. And this is a really strong locker room. Like the last bad locker room the Eagles had was 2020. We're not saying it's been perfect. There've been a couple players over the years that it wasn't always great with them, but the locker room for the most part has been terrific. And it's just like sometimes you go to a team and you go, okay, I got to get my stuff together here. I gotta get righted here. And we usually ignore all this stuff when fans ask 1,000 questions about anyone who's on the street who's a name, because it's like fantasy football. They want everybody, but they can't have everybody. Rarely do the Eagles get involved with this stuff. But this guy's out there, and you said for a reason. It is in June, but he's really, really talented. But again, we gave you the answers to the test. You understand what you're signing if you sign him, but you got to protect yourself. That's the key.
There you go. And then after that, we already know what the deal is at that other cornerback spot. Interestingly, they've had Quinton Mitchell working at left corner as well as right corner, whereas last year I believe he only played left corner. But Adoree Jackson, that's the veteran they brought in to push Keely Ringo. They're going to duke it out in camp. And look, I think with Mitchell and with DeJean in the nickel and moving around a little bit, you've got a decent amount of really good players in the secondary. It would be a luxury to sign Jaire Alexander. It's not to me, it's not make or break. Like this defense can't be good if they don't sign him or an upgrade at that spot. And you'll never know. We'll have to see how Kelee Ringo pans out. I mean, this is the year for him where the Eagles typically like to see their draft picks on the field producing so that they can make a long-term judgment after the third year on a player like that.
Yeah. The final thought here is, though, remember, this would be a potentially a significant upgrade if they got involved with Alexander. He's just better than what they have.
Oh yeah, not potentially. That's an upgrade. That's
yeah, right. Well, no. The reason why I say that is though, because physically, from what we understand, the tape from the last few seasons is still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But coming back from a PCL surgery, which is posterior cruciate, that's a significant surgery. So that's concerning. Because your point is, I get it. You don't quite know where he is. But as a talent, it's not even, you don't even discuss it because you know where it is. It's not, no offense to Dory Jackson. He's got significant injury history, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's that. Look, they have a lot of questions on defense. There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's a plenty of upside. The cool thing is they're the NFL's youngest defense, particularly on the up front. But they're going to have to get together quickly here because they've got a standard they just won the Super Bowl. They're going to grow together, but they got a lot of questions.
Yeah, and we've already gone through safety. We know that they have to figure out the right fit between Makuba and Sidney Brown and Tristan McCollum to play alongside Reed. And I would say to finish it off, Reed also has to show he can continue to play at the level he played at without CJ Gardner-Johnson next to him, because we saw in 2023 without CJ, Reed didn't play as well and was one of the kind of guys who struggled during that implosive stretch at the end of the year. So now he's got a lot more starts under his belt. He's more of a leader. I think he'll be all right, but he does have to show that himself without that kind of established playmaker next to him, that he can still play at a really good level.
Agreed.
All right, great stuff. So that finishes off that 2-part podcast series, and that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. As always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird. Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation.